gravel on the bottom. Get a bigger pot than you think you need. Put a little bit of gravel down. Make sure the pot has some holes so that it'll drain down. Put a little bit of gravel down there, and then I'll show you guys how to make some growing soil. And it's a really pretty easy mix of a lot of locally found stuff or stuff that you can pick up at a hardware store. And then once you have that, you kind of have a fresh start. But yeah, picking up some land is definitely the way to go. Oh, I don't know if any of you guys, if I've told any of you guys this. If anybody's interested in seeds at the end of this month, I'm gonna put together some seed packs, and I'm just gonna be mailing off just a variety of seeds to some different people that are interested. So xdrfirefly@gmail.com. Send me a message, and if you would like some seeds, I will put you on the list, and I'm gonna mail them off to anybody that's interested in seeds. If you tell me a little bit about where you live or what kind of seeds you want to grow or what kind of area you're planning on growing, I can kind of customize what seeds I'm gonna send down to that. But I just want to send a bunch of local heirloom stuff we've grown here, stuff that my friends have grown around. I think it'd just be fun just to spread around the seeds and such like that. So I need to. I think I'm still allowed to send. I'll still send you seeds in Eastern Europe. I'm not worried about that. Um, I mean, I don't. They just might not make them to. They just might not make it to you. I'm still keen. I think sending seeds. I think there's only a couple places. I'll make sure I'm not sending any seeds that are against the rules or anything, but like that are invasive or anything. But to my knowledge, unless I don't know if you're in an EU, if you're in an EU country, but I've personally sent seeds to Australia and to Japan before. So if you like seeds, just hook me up with that. Just send me an email and I'll still send you some. Because it'd be kind of fun to see what grows well in Eastern Europe. Getting some more food. Yeah, I'll look into the EU rules and see if there's any major rules about. I'm kind of curious now, so I'm gonna look it up anyways because I'm kind of interested to see if the EU has rules about seeds being sent in the post or not. But we will see. Oh, the next. Let's. It's time to talk about the Wu-Tang virus update. Yeah, Mark, weren't you part of Brexit last week? Like, I don't know, 4 days ago, and then you guys decided that you were just too cool for school, and a bad school at that. You know, it's funny. Um, with everything that's happening, and this is where it's going to relate to the Brexit story. With everything that's happening in the over in the UK, there's a whole movement in Virginia right now called Vexit, where they're talking about where our governor in West Virginia, our state, has invited the other counties that don't want to be part of Virginia anymore to leave and come out here. Hey, thank you so much for the ice cream. What I was saying was, and I shouldn't glitch out because everything is full, but okay. No, what I was saying there, Mark, is oh, you're gonna be behind. Regardless, what I was saying is here in Virginia, or in the state next to us, exit, the exit. That's funny. Um, anyways, our governor has invited the state next to us, if any of the counties or anything like that wants to join West Virginia. He's also made the. I've also heard that they've unofficially made the offer to any places in Kentucky as well, because I know Dabu and some of the other folks. I know Nathan talked about it too. They're talking about some of the craziness that's happening over in the next state over, Kentucky. But West Virginia, um, even though West Virginia has, it's kind of mixed between Democrat and Republican, and there's kind of both here. They're at least mildly sane, which is really funny if you ever know anything about the East Coast of the United States. For those that are out there, calling a West Virginia sane is really funny. So so Virginia, so the counties in Virginia, mostly the counties that are outside of like the DC area. So if you imagine, the easiest way to refer to Kentucky is, is Virginia. Is imagine Virginia is like a dead chicken laying on the ground with its head, the little ping, and up to DC is the top of its wings. So pretty much from the wings straight down. So it's including everything with like the head and everything of that sort. All of those counties are actually talking that that are kind of very farming mountain countries. The part of the Appalachian Mountains comes right through there. Um, all of those particular counties are absolutely just pissed on what's going up in the Tidewaters. And the Tidewaters is like where the military bases are, Virginia Beach and stuff like that. And then the upper part of Virginia, where the D.C. area is. Besides those two, the rest of the state, where all in the mountains and such, are just really upset about how Virginia is. And our governor has offered them to, what they're actually saying is to rejoin West Virginia. Since West Virginia and Virginia actually split during the Civil War. And then since West Virginia was formed as a country outside of the United States that then rejoined the United States, it technically became Virginia again. There's a lot of legal complications to it. So our governor has offered for them to come over and join that. Now, the other reason they're suggesting to Tennessee, or they're suggesting to Kentucky, is at one particular point, Kentucky was also part of Virginia. And so there could be precedent where if any of the states in Kentucky wanted to also join West Virginia, since they were all part of the same state at one particular point, during the constitutional times, there could be precedent of allowing some of the counties to rejoin West Virginia. And again, this is the idea that West Virginia is the true Virginia. And so it's really crazy, but our governor here and our senators, they're very country. They're very, I want to say backwoods, but they understand the importance of keeping the state functioning the way it's supposed to function. And so, like, we're open carry. We have castle law. Like happens where I live, almost no zoning, which is awesome. But other parts of the state are a little bit more strict than down here. So yeah, that's kind of all that in a nutshell, in a really big nutshell. Okay, let's go out and get the bunnies fed. So, hey man, thank you so much for the lemon on this rainy day. Okay, so we're gonna talk. Let's go back and talk a little bit about the Wu-Tang virus. So one of the biggest things that I've noticed is now we have 2 deaths outside of mainland China. There was one in Singapore, and the dude was 36, I believe. And then the latest one today was a dude in Hong Kong, and I believe he was 44. And so both of those are really interesting. Now, something else I've been paying a lot of attention to is the gender of the folks that either have it or have died. And this disease definitely looks like it affects men more than it affects women. And then the other thing that I've noticed is at least the 2 deaths outside of China. Those folks were younger. That intrigues me. I'd like to get some more information about, like, did they have other illnesses or things of that sort? Because 36 and 44 for deaths seem to be not typical for things like this. So, here's the thing. There could be lots of good reasons why it's a sexist, and there also could be related to it being if it is genetically modified, which I've heard. There's some rumors about that it could have been lab created, genetically modified, some important things like that. The other thing is if it was genetically modified, it would make sense that it affects the Asian men, since in places like China, which has like a 1.2 male to female ratio, which is one of the highest in the countries, and that was because of their one child policy back when I was a kid. So it could be related to something like that. The other thing is, and I've been paying a lot of attention to it, I'm trying to understand when I read the genetics, because I know a little bit about genetics, and they say that it's really affecting people with high amounts of ACE2 receptors, and people with ACE2 receptors are Asians, or as if you want to call it the Orient, which I don't think that's a bad word, but that's just that's the word that I know it as. They seem to be those people seem to have more of it than Africans or Caucasians or folks that live on other parts. What's really interesting, and I'd like to see this, is some folks that are multiple generational Americans but have an Asian descent, if they also have a high level of ACE3 receptors. That's something I'd be interested in. And if they do, are they more sensitive? Is that something that's going to be more sensitive to this? Because this is also, they found something similar in the SARS virus back in the day, that there was I can't remember what letters it was, but there was a receptor that folks that live in the Middle East were more likely to get, that had those receptors, and then that in turn meant the virus was easier thing. I also read today that there is definitely two confirmed cases that the virus has mutated. The mutations weren't pro or con, like they didn't make it more deadly or less deadly, but they did positively see two distinct mutations. One mutation was in the same family, so like I think what they said is the father had one version of the Wu-Tang virus, and the child who also caught it, he had the same virus, but you could see a slight mutation in it, and that's very important and also really scary. Yeah, Dan, that's something that's definitely very interesting. Some of us have been talking about how maybe this virus is also linked to 5G. And because a lot of the places in China that are getting this virus, especially the bigger uproars, are the places that are focusing a whole lot on 5G. So maybe there's a link between the two of those. Maybe there's a genetic link. Maybe there's a race or heritage link. So there's a lot of stuff because we know so little about it, that it's going to be really, really interesting to see what ultimately happens. As horrible as this sounds, once it gets over to more of a country like here or into the EU area, we'll be able to get better. We'll be able to get some better data to see if it really is affecting men and Asians at a higher proportion than folks of other ethnic background or heritage backgrounds. You know what I haven't heard, and this is what I'm super interested in, that the Muslim camp that they have in China, I heard that they were really fearful. This was about 4 or 5 days ago. I heard they're really fearful of this getting into there, and I haven't heard any new feedback. I haven't heard any new feedback of if it's going in there and infecting them. And the reason why that would be important is even if the Muslims have a Chinese heritage background, they're also going to have a completely different type of diet. And so I'm also a big advocate that your diet can have a lot to do with how you heal and how you fight off diseases and such like that. So that's another thing I'm personally really interested to see if I can find out more information about. But I don't know if, especially with China, I don't usually hold my breath that we're going to find out anything super useful anytime soon, because China's one of those places that if they don't like what you say, they'll just kill you. And I have no problem. I don't think that that's anything propaganda, me saying there. I think that there's enough information. Oh, I do have a question for folks, because I've got a couple people watching, and I'm really interested. Any of you that are old enough to remember, because this is a Mandela effect in my head, and I'm really this is probably the one that bothers me the most, and it directly deals with China. When they were doing the student protesting back in the day, and the dude, and you saw the videos of the dude standing in front of the tank, what happened to that? What do you remember happening to that guy? That's my question. That's my question. If you want to say it on here or you want to tell me on Discord, that would be great. Because that's just one of the things. It's kind of related to all this since it's talking about China. But the other thing is, and I think that not enough people are actually paying a whole lot of attention to, is there's been some talks that the H1N1, that 2009 H1N1, that's actually the flu, the common flu that's going around. That's the common flu that's going around here, or that's going around in the United States. They've actually said that there's a chance that actually could be mutating over in China as well, because they're in the depths of also having that flu and such. Okay. I'm real curious what you guys have to say about the tank guy, because I have a very distinct memory of what I remember happening. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys if I've ever given you my opinion on the Mandela effect. I have strong opinions on that. I have some strong opinions on that too. One day we could have a whole conversation about that, but I'm just always interested. So me, so because I was on the internet and I played a lot on a variety of stuff on the internet, and I've watched some of the most graphic stuff I've ever seen. I distinctly remember him getting ran over. So, and then China saying, "Look, this is what's going to happen if you." That was how they ended the protest. That's what I remember. With my friends that spent a lot of time on the internet, they remember the same thing that I remember. Most of my friends that were not wired do not. No, Mark, it absolutely could be. It absolutely could be right. That's the thing is I was also young, and so I know that my memory could have. I know that my memory could have been tainted by other things that I see. But the reason the reason why it just feels, and I'm going to say feel in this scenario, the reason why it just feels like that's how I remembered it is because I remember wanting to make a big deal. Is I remember wanting to really fight for and like really help the Chinese and the Asians and such like that. So so that's why I have that. I mean, there's plenty of the Mandela effects that I can totally add to misremembering. Really easy. That just happens to be that and the Jane Goodall. Those are the two. That and Jane Goodall are the two that are the hardest for me to get past. The rest are pretty easy because he's a dead cunt. I got it. Okay. It took me. Hey, Vampire Frog. I was a little slow there, but that was a good one. Give me just 1 second so I can make sure that I got these guys some food in here.